Again, 2 home games. Started on Thursday with a battle with Cal Baptist, back and forth game. Again, they jumped out early on us, and again, credit to our team. We fought back, and it was really tough towards the end, back and forth. They made a nice shot to kind of take the lead, and we threw a Hail Mary to Kirsten Harden. She hits 3 free throws to send us into overtime, and kind of just ran out of gas there in the overtime and weren't able to get that one done. But I think we learned a lot about ourselves and our competition level in that game, and then again had to pull ourselves back up and head over to play Grand Canyon at home. And again, they're a tough team because they get up and down and they play with so much energy, and we got down early in that one, but credit to our team. Like they did Thursday, they kept fighting, and we found a way to get that one done.
Definitely 2 big haymaker battles. Now you're on the road. It seems like for the rest of the season. I think I could say that even for whatever postseason lies, but for regular season, heading to Utah, Southern Utah, and then Utah Tech, what can we look forward to in those matchups?
Well, again, Southern Utah, regular season and conference champions a year ago. Haven't had the season that they thought they probably should have had. But again, they're still a tough team that has championship DNA and is well coached. So we'll have to be dialed in to go up there and get a win. They run some different things offensively that we need to be ready for. And then you play Utah Tech, really good team, shoots the ball really well. They'll space and pace you. So again, we'll have to be dialed in. 2 different styles of play. So again, going from a Thursday to a Saturday with 2 teams with really distinct differences in the style of play. We'll have to be dialed in these next 2 days to make sure we're ready.
Turn over to media.
Yes, specifically for Southern Utah, what do they do well? Who do you got to stop in order to get the win?
Their point guard, Belina, is a really good point guard. Again, started for them a year ago on their championship team. She's, like we like to say, the maestro, the head of the snake. She kind of sets the tone, sets the table for everybody else. And then Johnson, their shooter, she's a lights-out shooter. Again, another starter for them a year ago. So, like I said, they still have their championship DNA and some people that know what it looks like. So, taking them away, and then also just making sure we're clicking on the offensive end and getting our assist numbers up and sharing the ball.
And then after last week, obviously going 1-1 like you talked about, how's morale and everything among the team?
Morale is good. Again, we're coming off of a win on Saturday. Anytime you win, you feel good about yourself, and it was a senior night win. So, again, you always want to send your seniors off in the right manner, and they played well in their senior game. So morale's good.
Coach, you mentioned the 2 games last week that you guys kind of got off to a slow start, let both those teams jump out on you a little bit. Is that something that you guys have talked about a little bit? Like, hey, it's easier to win these games if we if we get off to a little quicker start.
100%. That's something we've talked about, and something we've kind of tried to hone in on. Honestly, the first 5 minutes of each half, just making sure that we're leading if we can, and if not leading, that we're still within striking distance and not letting teams get out and jump out to momentum and feel good. And no matter where we're playing, whether we're at home or away, that we're kind of hanging in there early and then adjusting as according.
And then I want to talk about Kirsten Harden just a little bit. She was the WAC Player of the Week for last week, and I've taken it upon myself to lead the charge in her Player of the Year campaign a little bit. Wow. But I wanted you to just talk about, I know there are players that average more points or whatever, but just how hard she has to work for everything she gets against teams that are bringing double and triple teams every time they face.
Yeah, I think, there are kids that average more points in our league, and there are kids that average more rebounds in our league, but I don't think there's any person that's as dominant in our league, and you have, like you said, you have to throw double teams at her to even keep her under those averages, and she's still averaging what she's averaging. So I'm just proud of her because she takes on these double teams. She gets fouled about 10 to 11 times a game. And, I say that. She probably gets fouled 20 times a game, and 10 to 11 of them get called consistently. But, again, she does a great job of just keeping her teammates involved and keeping her head and throughout those processes. So, again, I'm just proud of watching her mature over the last 2 years since she's been here. And, again, just credit to her work that she's put in.
Talk about Kirsten. She's almost scored 500 points just this season alone. But as offense as a whole, you guys have the 2nd highest scoring offense in the conference, and you're 27th in the nation. What do you guys attribute to that success?
Well, I attribute it to having really good players. They get up and down the floor, and again, we just try and put people in spots where they're successful from. Kirsten's shooting the ball really well around the rim, and she's really good at the free throw line. So we try and give it to her around the rim, and then she gets fouled and she goes to the free throw line. And over the last couple games, Kyla Deck's really been shooting the ball well from three. So is Avery Van Sickle, Tyler McCall, and Mel. So, again, just allowing them to do that. And then Dez is all over the floor in transition. Lydia Cook-Wiggins is picking it up. And, I'm really excited about Trinity Moore and how she's coming back into the fold for us. So, I have good players. I have a lot of talented weapons, and again, it's my job as the coach to put them in spots that they can be successful from.
I think you're about to repeat the same answer with what I'm about to say. Graphic was put out from another outlet listing some of the coaches that have some of the best records in their first year, and you're up there with 19, and I think that graphic was a little off. I think they're missing one key guy, and I think you and I know what we're talking about, but 19 wins in your first. That's putting you up there with some of the big names for Ladyjack coaches. Another time for me to give you your flowers, pat you on the
I
back.
appreciate it.
But how does that feel? I mean, I know you're focused on that, but any other reflections since the last time I asked you this, or is this something that you just business as usual?
Well, I think the reflection is when, senior night, it's your last home game and your first year as the head coach and you're, singing the alma mater at the end of the game, you're like, wow, like this was a really good year. This is a really good start. But again, like you said, I try and be present as possible. So in that moment, I'm just reflecting on the year that we've had, the home games that we've had, and I was excited about it, and sending our seniors off that way. And then, like you said, once I walked up the tunnel, it was on to the next and thinking about Southern Utah and Utah Tech. But there are time for reflections and things like that, and then there's also time to make sure you're keeping those blinders on and staying focused. So along the journey, you have to take time to make sure you enjoy it, and I feel like I do that at the right times, but then when it's time to lock in, we got to lock back in.
Good answer. Women will be on the road in Utah, Southern Utah on Thursday night, and then Utah Tech on Saturday to conclude the regular season, and then we're off to Wack Vegas, baby. Coach, thanks for the time.
Appreciate y'all. Axe 'em Jacks.